What's up, guys? So it's been a little bit of a rough run on PrizePicks. Not a great start to baseball season. So I try to keep this PowerPoint updated, and you can see from the peak of 17K profit on PrizePicks, we're down to about 11K, so down 6K from the peak. But again, not every day is going to be a winner. There's always going to be variance as a sports bettor, and regardless, sticking to it, there's a bunch of plays today. So let's go ahead, let's get into it. So the first play I have is right here: Keyshawn Johnson over 12.5 PRAs. So what you're going to notice, so I'll just go ahead and I'll zoom in a bit, is Johnson's line is 12.5 on PrizePicks, right? And then we have 1, 2, 3, the three other data points, the three other sports books that post odds on college basketball, points plus rebounds plus assists. There's not a ton of books that even offer, lines on PRAs for college basketball, but you're going to see Johnson is 12.5 on PrizePicks, 13.5 on Underdog, 13.5 on DraftKings, and 13.5 on 10bet. Right? So PrizePicks is too low. This is what happens when sportsbooks try to set lines independently. Occasionally they screw up, right? And here, PrizePicks is at 12.5. All the books are at 13.5. So we want to take the over, right? We found a market inefficiency, however you want to think about it, right? So I say this all the time, but when you're using PrizePicks as a sharp bettor on PrizePicks, you're basically scanning through, the tens of thousands of odds, looking just for a few plays that are profitable to include in a slip. Most plays aren't profitable, right? You can see Darian Tremmel. PrizePicks has his line at 14.5. So does Underdog. So does DraftKings. So does 10bet. There's no major discrepancies in the odds. There's no value. We don't want to touch it, right? As a sharp bettor, we just want to find plays with value. You don't want to bet with your gut, right? 99% of sports bettors bet with their gut, their emotions. That's why 99% of sports bettors lose money and the books are in business and PrizePicks is in business, right? You want to bet with data. So here you can see we have three real-time, data points, price data points, all telling us, this line should be at 13.5. PrizePicks is at 12.5. We want to take the over. Jadon Ledee, no value. All books have his line at 14.5. No major discrepancies in the odds. Don't touch it. Jonell Davis, all books have his line at 20.5. No value in the market. No book is screwing up. Don't touch it, right? The value's on Johnson. That's the first pick I went with. So I use this tool again, which is called the odds jam screen. And you don't only have to look at, player points plus rebounds plus assists. If you just want to look at player assists, whatever, you can do that too, right? You can look at any market you want, but this is where I was able to find value, at least early this morning. Sometimes there's more value in the NBA. Sometimes there's more value in NHL shot on goal props. So I took a quick look at NHL shot on goal props. I didn't see much value on the screen, right? The value was in college basketball. And again, the purpose of these videos is obviously educational, but I also just show you guys what I'm personally betting on. I didn't find any value in hockey early this morning on the screen, so I don't have a play on it. So anyways, the second tool I use pretty frequently is the positive EV tool, right? So the way the screen works is you're largely looking for where are books setting the lines at different levels, right? So Jordan Miller, it's like all books have his line at 23.5. No value. We don't want to touch it. What the EV tool shows you is it shows you, right, where sports books have an under really heavily favored or an over, and you can still get that play on PrizePicks. So we can, go through a couple examples, but I've explained this before that all this profit and loss on PrizePicks is from 5 flex plays, right? So if I zoom in right here, I've gone through this example so many times, but I think it's really important for anyone who is still placing 2-pick power plays to go through this example, right? If you're able to select on PrizePicks, your over-unders, 57% of the time, if you're able to hit your OUs 57% of the time correctly, your ROI playing 2-pick power plays, so here you can see a 2-pick power play, right? So if you're able to select your over-unders 57% of the time correctly, your ROI on PrizePicks is negative 2.53%. You're losing. If you're winning 57% of your picks, you're only losing 43% of your picks, and you're playing 2-pick power plays, your ROI is negative 2.53%, right? So I see a lot of new people, they start to gamble, on PrizePicks, and they don't even understand how the platform works, right? They don't really understand what's optimal. Should you be placing, 2-pick power plays like this? Or should you be placing 3-pick power plays or 3-pick flex plays? Like, you have to figure out what's optimal. And if you go through all the math, which I've done numerous times, I've shown you that if you're placing 5 flexes and you're hitting your plays 57% of the time, your ROI would be 19.3%. For a 2-pick power play, your ROI would be negative 2.53%. So you're going negative 2.5% to 19.3%, hitting your plays 57% of the time, right? So if you can hit 57% of your picks, if you can select these OUs 57% of the time correctly, and you're placing 2-pick power plays, you're a loser. You're losing money. If you're placing 5 flex, you're really profitable. You're a winner, right? So anyways, long story short, you got to be going with 5 flexes. And long story, short again, your goal is to get this win probability as high as possible. This is called your break-even win probability, right? So if you're winning your plays on PrizePicks, 54.3% of the time. So if you're winning roughly 54% of your picks, you're losing roughly 46%, right? Then you're going to break even long term. You're not going to have a positive profit and loss, or you're not going to have a negative profit and loss. You're going to roughly have an ROI of 0 over the course of the long run. What PrizePicks assumes is most people can't select over-unders, with really any edge. They assume most people are selecting these over-unders, betting with their heart, hitting these at a rate of roughly 50%. So if you're hitting your picks at a rate of 50%, so you have no edge, you're winning 50% of your picks, like you can hit over-unders 50% of the time, you're losing 50% of the time, your ROI is going to be negative 25%, right? So these differences make a really big deal, 50% to 54.3% on PrizePicks. So your goal is get this number as high as possible, right? If you're hitting 56% of your picks and you're losing 44%, your ROI will be 11.9%, right? And the spreadsheet's in the description. So basically, we want plays, unsurprisingly, on PrizePicks that are winning at the highest possible rate. So the way you do that is, again, you can use this odds jam screen and look for discrepancies in the market. So if we go back here, like Johnson, 12.5 on PrizePicks, it was 13.5 on all the sports books. We found an inefficiency in the market, right? That play is going to be winning over 54.3% of the time. But the second tool you can use is the positive EV tool. So this tool, unlike the screen, you're not looking for where are books setting the lines at different levels, right? You use the screen to see where are books setting a player's line at different levels, maybe 11.5 versus 12.5, whatever. For the EV tool, you're comparing where books have the line set at the same level. So here you can see all the books have Jimmy Butler's line at 5.5. PrizePicks also has him at 5.5. So why do we want to hit this play, right? The bet in bold and in green is the play you want to go with. So why do we like this play? Well, look at the sports books. They all have Butler's under heavily favored, right? Like sports books have the under juiced to minus 140, and again, you're never going to get a perfect answer as to what exactly should the odds should be. What exactly should the odds be on Butler's under? Because books set lines independently. So FanDuel has the under at minus 142, right? Caesars, they're less aggressive on the under, at least by a little. They only have the under at minus 139 odds, right? DraftKings is minus 135. So FanDuel is the most aggressive, the most bullish. They think Butler's under is most likely to hit because they have the under, again, the most juiced, right? And then you can see, BetRivers is pretty similar to FanDuel. They have this minus 141. So basically, you can look through all these data points, right? And essentially get a sense. These are billion-dollar sports books. They have really good models, really sophisticated models. No offense, their models are better than yours. They've invested hundreds of millions of dollars. They have the best data sources. They know, right, how to price these lines, move around lines due to supply and demand. So long story short, you want to use all this information to find value on PrizePicks. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like every single sports book posting odds on Butler assists has Butler's under heavily favored. And we can get this on PrizePicks in a 5 flex at minus 119 implied odds, right? Minus 119 is a 54.3%, right? So essentially all the EV tool is doing is it's pulling in, all these lines from PrizePicks and then just showing you, out of the tens of thousands of odds on PrizePicks, where do sportsbooks have an under really heavily favored or an over really heavily favored? And in this case, it's Butler under 5.5 assists. All the books have his under really heavily favored around minus 140 odds, and we can still get this in our PrizePicks slip, right? And again, PrizePicks, they don't vary your payouts depending on if you select overs or unders, right? Like you can see here, right? If you switch overs to unders, it doesn't change your payout. That's not the way PrizePicks works, right? So if I switch over here, you can see like for a 6-pick flex, a 5-pick flex, whatever, there's this doesn't change. If we would have taken Scotty Barnes under half of a 3, so Scotty Barnes to not make a 3, your payout doesn't change. So basically what you're looking for is spots where sportsbooks are telling you, yo, the under is really heavily favored or the over is really heavily favored, and you can still get that in your prize pick slip because sportsbooks are telling you, what these sportsbooks are telling you by having the under so heavily juiced is that, yo, this play's hitting over 54.3% of the time. The under is a lot more likely than the over. That's what it means when sportsbooks have the under really heavily juiced, right? Like if we switch over to kind of a good example is if we switch over to college basketball, sportsbooks imply win probabilities through their odds. So what I mean by that is Connecticut is roughly a minus 240 favorite, right? So what sportsbooks are telling you is, Connecticut's a lot more likely to win the game, right? Because they're a minus 200 favorite. So it's the exact same thing here, right? Because all the books have Butler's under really heavily favored, the books are telling you, yeah, the under is a lot more likely to occur than the over, right? And that's why this play is profitable on PrizePicks, because it's hitting like 55, 56% of the time. So it creates a positive ROI in a 5 flex because it's winning over 54.3% of the time. It's really important to understand, right? Sportsbooks imply win probabilities through their odds, right? And then essentially, like sharp bettors, if sharp bettors are like, no, 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 and the syndicates and whatever, if action starts piling in on Miami because people actually think Miami's more likely to win and they shouldn't be a 2-1 favorite or a 2-1 underdog, I apologize, sports bettors will start hammering Miami and lines will move towards Miami, right? So these books move around their odds, which changes around win probabilities. So hopefully this video was helpful. Here's what I ended up going with on PrizePicks for today. Falk under 2.5 shots on goal. Pasternak over 4.5 shots on goal. Johnson over 12.5 PRAs. Butler under 5.5 assists. Ekblad over 2.5 shots on goal. So that's slip number 1. And then slip number 2, I just replace Ekblad, the over, with, where is this guy? Jack Roslovic over 1.5 shots on goal. So you can see I just ended up, diversifying a bit. So hopefully this video was helpful.